Hello everyone. I'm going to show you today in 5 parts short videos on the requests and the conversations that we had in our meeting. The notes and the outline for this came from our meeting, and those notes I've posted in a comment section, and I think that's attached to the files tab in our team, in our shared team. So I'm going to show you slight differences and things that are the same. I'm going to talk about language between the two, some confusing things that we will inevitably meet in OneDrive over what we see in Google Drive. And as we discussed, it is to do with that familiarity that gives us that comfort with Google Drive, and moving to 365 and Drive and Teams is something new. And so what I'm going to do in these clips is just try and marry up the processes that you have or have been using and apply them to Office 365. So these 5 areas are going to be what we're going to look at these major similarities. So overview, what's the same, what's new? There should be question marks there. Building common actions, engaging students with Teams, what to know, OneDrive, Office.com, SharePoint, Teams files, and then some final tips and takeaways. So overview, what's the same, what's new? Those processes when we're sharing files between teachers to teachers, teachers to students, students to teachers, and students to students, what that's going to look like. Building common actions. So in this video, I'm going to go and use some processes and try and replicate what you would be doing in your classroom. One of the key ones there was very common in our chat was a shared document that all students can edit at the same time, which you can do very easily in almost the same route as you do in Google Drive with something like slides versus PowerPoint. Engaging students with Teams. I'm going to show you in this clip what that's going to look like where students don't necessarily have to leave Teams itself. They can run within Teams. They can usually open up files, quite obscure files, especially in technology classes. The students open up quite unique and obscure files within Teams, and they're able to manipulate it within its window. So I'll show you what that looks like. And how using Teams, I heard some people say that they'd started using assignments in Teams, which is great. The differences between Google Classroom and Teams. I'm going to show you what that process looks like as well. And that you have so much more control and time-saving devices within assignments than you do over Google Classroom. Even though Google Classroom is very slick, it's slick at a few things, whereas Teams can be slick at many things. What to know? I was very surprised that people had started entering the language of SharePoint. I'm encouraged by that tremendously. So OneDrive, Office.com, SharePoint, and Teams files, how they are kind of synonymous with one another. I'm going to show you that they have differences within the 4 there. And of course, some final tips and takeaways. One of the key tips there is when you go to share files, particular files, how this looks, particularly on a permissions front. Google Drive is very different in its default sharing permissions between OneDrive, just something to look out for, and some of the tips and tricks in there too. So I'm going to split my window in a second, and I'm going to put the 2 side by side, which is OneDrive and Google Drive, and show you what's the same and what is new. So I'm just going to pause this and switch my screen out. So here we are with OneDrive on the right hand side, and we have Google Drive on the left hand side. And so we can see that we have this activity panel here in Drive. It has very similar layouts. So you have everything down here that you know about, your bins. I would say that the bin in your Teams, when you go to the bin in Drive, I'm going to show you this in tips and tricks, The bin allows you to recover from sort of people that are shared with you. The bin here is generally just for you. The bin that is in OneDrive has your teams and anything that's shared with you or you're part of. So we'll show that later. Down the side, you've got your regular favorites, what's shared with you, same as on here. They look slightly different in that I got them collapsed here. And then you've got people and your calendar and your meetings, and this pulls into Outlook and your calendar and people from Outlook and people's teams. And then you have your teams down here. So I've got primary technology, and then I've got the year 6 teachers, which we're in. So this is just OneDrive, and then all the files that are here, and it's stored in the same kind of manner here. It's just that you have an activity window here, and then you can quickly filter everything by PowerPoints, which is, you can see that I'm in this one right now. And this is where things can get a little bit confusing, especially from a legacy point of view, is that Microsoft is traditionally an app-based situation. You've got Word that is an app, you've got Office, you've got Word, PowerPoint, Excel. They're all individual apps, and they weren't really online until they started to come back with Google. And the same the other way around. Google was never an app situation, it's always online, so it's always in the browser. The only apps you would have is actually Drive on your computer, where you could drag and drop files onto your desktop and it would sync automatically, and of course apps within your iPad. Now you don't need those apps anymore, because on an iPad you can use your browser as a desktop browser on an iPad. So if you ask the children to go to office.com, they will see everything inside here. So that is it from where it looks pretty similar, and how they look sort of different. I'm going to go into that in the next video. So this is how I'm going to open it up in the next video at the beginning, and then we're going to have a look at what the differences are, especially where we look at things from an app point of view and a web point of view, and how they are synonymous and how we can look at them with a similar lens, and we can look at them and go, oh yeah, this is this and this means this. So I'm going to stop this now, and I'll see you in the next clip.